want to get it over with, and we want to do it right, but we have to do what we came to do.
I don't know how many days it's going to take for them to come to the table, but they will come to the table because no one can fight with our military long.
This is a war with seemingly no way out. There's a greater threat of escalation than peace at this time. And it's hard to argue that we're in a better situation than we were when the war started.
Well, we could be closer to escalation. The president's making a decision on that front. This as there is an expansion on the other side as well. Iran tapping the Houthi rebels. AP writing it this way. Yemen's Houthis attack Saudi tankers in the Red Sea, threatening to widen Iran war. Houthi attacks put at risk oil shipments from Saudi Arabia's Yanbu port on the Red Sea and present a double whammy on top of the disruption in the Strait of Hormuz, said maritime data and analysis from Lloyd's List. Intelligence list. Meantime, the president's been on Truth Social most recently saying, please let this statement serve to represent until further notice that from this point forth, any and all damages done to ships, cargo, or anything related thereto will be paid for by Iranian money that the United States has in its possession and controls. These damages may be very substantial, but nevertheless, this is fair and equitable thing to do. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President Donald J. Trump. He also said earlier in the day that any attacks by the Houthis will be essentially dealt with by dealing with Iran. Let's bring in our panel. Fox News contributor Ben Domenech, host of the Big Ben podcast, Annie Linsky, White House reporter for the Wall Street Journal, and Robert Wolf, Fox News contributor. Okay, Ben, what do you make of this, the escalation possibility and what the Houthis are doing?
Well, I think Secretary Rubio was pretty clear when he said today that when the president looks at things, he doesn't say an eye for an eye, he says a head for an eye. And I think that when it comes to this situation, he is going to be ramping things up as opposed to scaling them back. That may not sit well with congressional Republicans who would like to see this winding down in advance of the midterms. They're concerned about the way that it will play politically. But I think the president understands that Iran is just not to be trusted at this point in any way, shape, or form. It's a thing that all of us who were critics of that earlier MOU, have said, that this is the kind of behavior that they've done in the past and will continue to do. And when it comes to enlisting their allies in the Houthis to deal with the Red Sea in the way that they have, the president basically needs to decide, are we going to keep doing these pinprick strikes, these targeted strikes, or are we going to drop something right on their heads in a way that is significant? And I think that the truth is, I think he's leaning toward the latter.
Yeah, the president says he's close to a decision, Annie, about this massive attack that he talked to Axios about today. The aforementioned Secretary Rubio talking about Iran not ready to make a deal. Take a listen.
They're probably not ready to do a deal yet, but they will be soon, because the price they're paying is very high, despite their tough talk and their flowery language and their stupid Lego videos they put out. I've never seen them, but they put these things out on social media. Despite all that bravado, they are suffering tremendously, and they're going to suffer more until they come to their senses. They're not there yet, unfortunately.
Annie?
Yeah, Brett, I think, our reporting at the Wall Street Journal is that Trump has told several of his colleagues and allies and friends that he's increasingly frustrated with the Iranians. He's even told people that he thinks that the only thing the Iranians understand is force, which will make him kind of push him further towards this idea of continuing the strikes and even potentially ramping them up. I mean, right now, there's live action in the Strait and in that region, but there isn't anything like where we were with Epic Fury. But in talking to people who are talking to the president, they are sensing this just deepening frustration from him. And one person even said that he's sort of in like revenge mode. So it's really strong language that the president is conveying privately. It's what we're hearing.
Mm-hmm. Meantime, Robert, the price of oil continues to go up. The live crude oil prices were put up on the screen, hovering around 93. I think it's 92, down a little bit. It was 93.06. If you look at the daily Brent crude price per barrel chart, and you can see kind of where it's tracked as this escalation has happened, as more kinetic action has happened again. That obviously is a concern, but if the Iranians are not dealing, the president's saying we're going to continue.
Yeah, I mean, listen, there's a lot to unpack what's happened the past week. Obviously, the MOU wasn't worth the paper it's on. I mean, I'm going to continue what Annie said. You know, if you think about March 2026, when President Trump was in Kentucky, he said in the first hour it was over, but we won. I hate to say this, but that's like a mission accomplished moment. Right now, it doesn't feel like we have an exit strategy. Yesterday was a brutal day for America with the dignified transfers. I mean, any parent out there, we saw a young woman, 19, we saw a young man, 25, that were deceased from this war that, you know, unfortunately the administration isn't calling a war. I mean, I think that we have to resolve this. I don't think it should be boots on the ground. And I think we should really put a chokehold on everything economic with them. They are at 85% inflation. There is no way that our allies should be sitting on the sideline when actually the closing of the Strait of Hormuz doesn't actually even impact the U.S. It impacts APAC and India. And I think that it's time that we resolve this the right and smart way. And if that means we have to battle a little longer, so be it. But I'm not for putting more men and women in harm's way with boots on the ground.
Yeah, and let me ask you this. The change on the Saudi nuclear deal, that they were going to help the Saudis with civilian nuclear, and then late there was this condition to Saudi nuclear deal, the normalizing relations with Israel, which is obviously a goal that they've been trying to do. Israel hotly opposes Saudi Arabia's development of a nuclear enrichment program, fearful it could lead to a regional arms race. Israeli leaders welcomed Trump's new statement. Here is the White House press secretary on all of this today.
The president is always the final deal maker, as you know, and this is something that he has mentioned on numerous occasions going back. I can provide you with those statements, and he has said if they don't join the Abraham Accords, the deal is off. So we'll continue to have those conversations with our Saudi counterparts moving forward.
So I guess it took the Saudis by surprise.
Yeah, look, I mean, anybody who's followed this president knows that when he makes a deal, sometimes there are last-minute changes, last-minute additions, and a final, a final addition. And I've seen him do this before in litigation, actually, with various different organizations that he has sued. So this is sort of a classic Trump move. So I don't think the Saudis should really be that surprised by this. Because this is the type of thing that Trump does, and quite frankly, to Caroline's point, it has been a consistent requirement that the president has talked about. So the real surprise was that it wasn't part of the initial deal when it was initially unveiled.
Yeah. All right, let's turn to politics, Ben, and this voter ID issue that Republicans really feel like they have a good sense of, that they have a good sense of where the country is on this issue. Here is James Carville and Senator Kennedy.
We are not going to win the war against some kind of ID. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't fix anything, but maybe you just go along with it and move to the next thing.
For all Americans, regardless of their political persuasion, to have confidence in our elections, all we have to do is two things. Number one, two rules. You have to prove you are who you say you are in order to register to vote and to vote.
And our latest Fox poll, I mean, it's pretty overwhelming. Registering to vote, 83% all, even 72% Democrats. And there you see voting at 77%. Ben, this is kind of rich territory for as we get closer to the midterms.
It is rich territory, and I don't know why Republicans aren't going around the country and talking about it more. I mean, this is classic, Republican politics. Go back to Newt Gingrich. You find those 80-20 issues and you lean into them as hard as you possibly can. This is stuff that the American people just believe is rational, reasonable. They don't believe the left's argument that it is in any way racist to demand, an ID, the same way that you would if someone was, buying a bottle of something at a liquor store. This is absurd that the Republican Party has wasted this opportunity, I think, to go around the country and to make this case to the voters as aggressively as they ought to have been over the past couple of months. I hope that they correct that leaning into this November election, because we know all the historical trends go against them. This is the kind of thing that can change that. And I think that they're frankly just leaving it on the table and fighting amongst themselves, as they typically
And
do.
Robert, quickly, I mean, is it a canary in the coal mine that somebody like James Carville is saying maybe we should punt on this issue?
Yeah, it's clear the polls are overwhelming, but where I think the Republicans lose on this is on the mail-in. 2/3 are fine with it, and they keep fighting mail-in voting when a lot of the states use it and don't have an issue with it.
All right, panel. Thanks so much.
Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube and catch full shows streaming now on Fox One.